Hey, alright, so this is my comments on this cage match I had with Monster Cheese. Monster Cheese, I don't know. It was a Necromancer cage match for the cage match tournament Nocturne. So this is the first board. Yeah, I'm kind of already jumped in here. So this board is a bit tricky because you can't play multiple terminals per turn. So the question is, you're only going to be able to play one terminal per turn, whether it's from... Yeah, so I look at the farmer's market because I'm anticipating what's Necromancer farmer's market interaction. So I did go for storeroom here. The reason I did that is because I wanted to get to goat faster. So you use the cycle for on storeroom, and the plan, I think we both had a similar strategy, was to go to basically just an advisor stack. Yeah, so we were going to advise, and now I'm going to throw in some pixies, and you play one terminal, which is either Merchant Guild or Storeroom, something with plus buy, or Farmer's Market. Yeah, so I'm favoring pixies over silver, because I think pixie does a lot of convenient things when you get out right time. We'll see how it plays out. The thing with the storeroom opening I wanted to discuss is that it's pretty safe, because at some point... you get a Necromancer, and when the storeroom's outlived its usefulness, you just trash it with the zombie apprentice. And at that point, you could pivot to, let's say, Merchant Guild, but both are okay. Really, the fact is, using a Necromancer gives you some flexibility. Yeah, I was copying the game number here. Yeah, so you see, I'm using the storeroom to discard, so I can get to my goat as often as possible, and storing up on pixies, because pixie, when you have the Necromancer, you can kind of trash pixie with zombie apprentice if you're worried about dudding. Here I wasn't worried about dudding, so I wonder if I'm going to trash here, because it was to be a good time to get payload. The thing is, if you trash here, you don't want to trigger the shuffle, I don't think. Do I play the Necromancer? We'll see. I don't think I'm going to end up playing the Necromancer just so I don't trigger the shuffle. But I think, I play the Zombie Mason. Yeah, I play the Zombie Mason. So you see, I already hit the storeroom with the Zombie Mason, got a Necromancer. And the thing with Necromancer is that, once you trash the storeroom, it's not gone. You can use it. You could still use it. It helps your opponent's Necromancer, sure. But, yeah. Sorry about the cough. I have persistent cough. Not going to go away for a while, so I didn't want to delay this narration any further, because this is not live, right? So I played this game. I was sniffling when I first played this game. I was too sick to really record live. So yeah, now I'm going for the advisors. There's a question of fairgrounds here, but none of us go for it. I think you can build up to double province. Yeah, I'm not... Yeah, the thing is, if you play Necromancer on Pixie, you fail to ever trash the Pixies. You can never... The boon effect on Pixie is dependent on you successfully trashing the Pixie. So you never trigger Pixie off Necromancer. You might as well just play Zombie Spy if you're going to do that. So here, yeah, I'm still here. I'm not trashing. Using the Zombie Apprentice, interestingly enough. Yeah, so I wanted to keep at least one estate so I can trash it with the goat. Probably this is going to be Advisor Pixie. Yeah, because once you have the Advisor stack, gets the Flames Gifts. Not sure if he uses it. I think in general, there are 2 games with Pixie, and both games my opponent seemed to be too averse to trashing copper with Pixie, with Goat, which, no, you want to be trashing copper with Goat. Maybe it's the other game, but in this game, he's doing alright. I think, yeah, so we see we're both going for similar strategies. Yeah, so... Yeah, so see here, you could just use the storeroom for, even when it's gone, it's not really gone. And what else to do with Necromancer? Well, later on, you trash advisors with it, with the Zombie Apprentice, so that those Necromancers are still okay. So you can't. The best you could do here is, I think, is unless you get really lucky with a pixie Field's Gift or something, you're looking at a double province turn here. The pixies in general just give you the flexibility. Like if you ever get to Earth's Gift, you're great golden because yeah. So there I used just pixie with Zombie Mason. Yeah, so I've drawn my deck now. So the question is going to be, how do I increase my payload so I could buy more than one province, or buy more than one? So you want to maybe at least buy a province and an advisor or some other card, or necromancer maybe. So the advisor's in the trash. Yeah, so I see here, because so I trashed it for a merchant guild, which is very nice because it means that I can use my necromancer as an advisor now, while I actually get the terminal of choice that I want, which is the merchant guild. It doesn't really matter so much if you decide to trash a merchant guild or not, but I don't think I end up trashing it. I could be wrong. So here does gets that Earth's Gift. Very nice. You just get 2 advisors, so. So I got pretty yeah. Once you get the double will-o-wisps, they draw themselves. So even if I trash most of my copper, it at least draws goat and pixie, and I don't know. It seemed like the right call to get the will-o-wisps there. So now here's the problem: is that with 1 terminal per turn, you can't do much with Stone Mason without. You want to play the Merchant Guild instead of the Zombie Mason, not the Stone Mason, the Zombie Mason. Even though you have a tight control of your deck in this case. So yeah, so I can't really afford province, but it's a question of what do I do. Not sure how so I kept my copper so that I could buy gold and pixie. My opponent's doing similar, again, playing the advisor stack, getting gold and advisor. Very similar approach here. Still has the. So this is basically a mirror, it turns out. It really comes down to tactical plays. But my opponent did get a dismantle, which is actually concerned me at some point, because dismantle was an extra gain. But then again, if you play the dismantle, you can't play the storeroom or any of the cards that give plus buy, except for pixie. And it just got the. You see, so I got lucky with the boons here. So now I got 4 will-o-wisps in my deck. So in the end, the dismantle is a bit redundant. So I did some trashing with the Zombie Apprentice. So not sure how I got the 4 golds there. I don't know when. What I did to get that many Oh, I windfall. That was right. I completely forgot that my whole plan was draw the deck with advisors, get thin, and then you just buy windfall once, and you have all the treasure payload you need. So that was what I was completely missing. Not recording this live. Sorry. So yeah, that's the one thing that separated me from my opponents, is that instead of buying gold outright, I went for windfall, which was a faster way of getting the payload I needed. And my opponent's going to start buying province here, I'm pretty sure. Except now I'm able to hit double province. I have some spare coin tokens. I had bought 4 cards last turn. So I'm continuing on. The order of when you play the pixie is interesting, because it depends if you've been boon tracking. Depends the difference if you want to wait till the beginning or the end of your shuffle of your draws to play the pixie. So skipping over the Field's Gift means I skipped out on getting extra buys this turn with playing Necromancer, well, Stone Mason, Storeroom with Necromancer. So at this point, I think I'm able to draw my deck every turn pretty comfortably and double province. and I think my opponent's at best hitting single province and a half. So now that I have the coin tokens, I have exactly I'm able to keep myself afloat because I have at least 13 and just get the coin tokens I spend back. So my choices for advisors, I didn't want him to get to his interesting cards that give buy, so I didn't want him to reach his terminals or his draw. So limiting, but he's still he's still doing kind of well. But so I think there's 3 provinces left. So. And he's ahead in points, so if I get no, if I get both provinces, he would have to double province, and yeah. So what happens is if I get double province here, he would have to get 2 provinces to beat me. But there's only going to be 1 province, so he'd need 1 province and 2 duchies. And the only way he would be able to do that is if Pixie got actions or buys. So it's going to be a really a nasty situation for him. Yeah, so you can see just zombie apprentice, not take chances. Yeah, so so the merchant guild gave that extra coin. So yeah, so I was able to buy 2 provinces every turn. So here I'm deciding what my opponent would need to overtake me if I get 2 provinces, if it's safe to do 2 provinces. And I end up concluding that it is safe to do 2 provinces because my opponent would need a province and 2 duchies to overtake me, and completely misses the completely duds. No, but here's where I was saying again. I wanted to discard his sources of gains, so I kinda dud there, but not really because I still get the last province. So that was game 1 and of the Necromancer Cage Match. And yeah, so I'm narrating over. This is the first time I narrate over a game, and at twice at speed at the same time. I think that's good because I sometimes take a lot of time with the with my plays, like especially in other tournaments, like playing against Steph in the World Cup, or I cringe when I rewatch those videos and see how long I took on certain decisions. The commentators are like, "What is he thinking about?" And I get overly cautious. So sorry about that. I think the "Oh God" came from maybe him seeing the board ahead of time. Okay, so this is an interesting one. The Fool's Gold Monastery Patrol. So there's definitely an engine here, but there's also the Fool's Gold. And for sure, definitely I wanted the Monastery. No matter what you do, I think you go for Monastery. There's even a Monastery Banquet interaction that I saw like pretty early, right at the start, pretty cool. If you're able to hit 3 while you have Monastery in hand, you get Banquet, and you get a 5, and you get the trash 3 cards with the Monastery. So you just replace the estates with coppers, and if you're only going to buy 1 card anyway, it's the same, except you hit 5 instead of 3, so it's very good economy play. So I wanted to kind of hit 5s, so that's kind of why I liked the silver. Gladiator was another option. Thinking back, I think going for Fortune Gladiator Fortune would have been nice, but I didn't end up doing it. I regret not trying it, but what ends up happening here is that my opponent kind of jumps for the Fool's Gold, and I panic, and I join in with the Fool's Gold, and it becomes a Fool's Gold engine-y Fool's Gold race here. Which is not so, because there was also Border Village. Now the Necromancer, because it's a Necromancer Cage Match, the question is how good is Necromancer here? Um, the thing is, if you're trying to, you can get it off 4, but the 5s are just too good. I mean, Haggler, upgrade, patrol, and until the Fool's Golds are out, like if you have less than 5, you probably just buy a Fool's Gold. This is kind of cool because, actually not so cool, because even though I gain 2 cards with Border Village, I still only trashed my copper, and I don't hit 6. Actually, I do hit 6 if I held back the silver, so I probably made a mistake here, is that I could have not played the silver and then trashed the copper and the silver. But I think at the time I was scared of getting rid of the silver. I don't know why. I think my opponent ended up doing a pretty good job on this board. We kind of mirror each other, but you'll see what happens. There's something that really works in my favor at some point. It'll be obvious when we get there. But I think we both go for the Haggler. We're both going for basically the same kind of deck with Trash Down, Fool's Gold, Border Village, Haggler, Patrol stuff. So the question here is if he trash silver for Necromancer, just for extra reliability with the Zombie Apprentice, and that's what I'm pondering here. I think I do it. Yeah, I do it. The Necromancer just has... when else am I going to get the Necromancer, really? I already had the thing to get Fool's Gold, so it was an extra gain. And with all those border villages, maybe there's a collision with Necromancers more likely. Or, the problem is with only one Necromancer, you can't trash something and then later replay it. So, if you were to Necromancer a Patrol... Yeah, so there's the thing was... You need the pawn here for plus buy. Well, not really, because Haggler, when you buy Province, you get to haggle a border village, which is just really good anyway. But possibly here I get the pawn or the banquet. I think here I finally get the opportunity to hit 3 while I have Monastery. I think this is the moment I was waiting for since the start of the game. And it didn't work out because I drew 2 and Monastery, but well, so yeah, so we both get Necromancer here. This is the top deck ordering, so yeah, so I still wanted the to draw that Monastery, so I give up an upgrade, but still trash a card anyway, because by finding Monastery, I'm able to trash 2 cards when I get a Border Village. But we're both kind of barreling for provinces here, and both have only 1 buy. It's a bit unfortunate. There is pawn for plus buy, but the problem is we didn't get it early enough. So now that we're in these situations, but even then, you have to get a village first. So really, at this point, I feel like I was kind of set to lose this game. It was a good chance that I lost this game, but it was kind of tense. Since it really came down to the draws. I was wondering if my opponent had more Fool's Gold than me. Still, no plus buy. Yeah, so I think here's the problem play that my opponent does. Has 16 with a Haggler in play, and then buys the pawn, and is forced to take a copper. It's bad enough even if maybe my opponent forgot that they had Haggler, that they could just pick up that pawn, even if they wanted it. When really the play was supposed to be you buy a province, and you border village, then duchy. I mean, that's the most reasonable play there, but instead my opponent wasted 16 to get a pawn and 2 copper, which is kind of flat out a terrible play, terrible mistake. It was baffling. Basically, my opponent threw the game away there in something that was otherwise very close. Like my opponent maybe could have won that one. Here again buys a pawn. and again has to take an extra copper, and it's over at this point. Yeah, just to maximize my points there. But if my opponent took a province earlier, that there wouldn't be that one province left, so that game could have been completely different if my opponent didn't waste that 16 on the pawn. So again, we get the pixie. This is the third game. So we have an interesting Bane is the guide. And guide is a problematic Bane because in order to do something with it, you have to play it. So you have to keep calling it if you want to use it to protect against the Young Witch. So yeah, I'm looking at obviously what the Druid has to offer. Nothing too good except for the plus buy, which is honestly good enough. I think yeah, it has Earth's Gifts, I think. Yeah, so actually the Druid has good stuff in there. With Druid, you can discard a copper for a Necromancer even. It's has good things and has the plus buy, which you kind of want. My opponent, here's the thing. My opponent buys Young Witch without trashing the copper, so it keeps their copper, maybe thinking that copper is good here. I get the best luck in the world that I just reshuffled, and the top card I drew was the guide, and I block his Young Witch in a 1 in 8 chance. Yeah, it's really unfortunate. But again, yeah, as I was saying, my opponent was not trashing copper in the opening, despite buying a 4. And again, you want Pixie. It does things for you, and especially here when there's like 3 boons gone, you don't. So you're more likely to hit, let's say, the Swamp's Gift, or you can't hit Earth's Gift, but you can hit Fire's Gift, and you don't have to worry about Moon's Gift. But I wasn't thinking about that at the time. I was just, Pixie is probably better than Silver here. Yeah, so I guide. You want to keep calling. Yeah, so here I keep keeping these states so that I trash them, and probably at 4 is you buy the Necromancer. The great thing here with the Necromancer is that you get a Druid and then you trash a Druid, and then you just use Necromancer as Druid whenever you actually need to. So here's the question: yeah, I played it as Spy there. Later on, you can simply trash the Young. Once you have the second Necromancer, you can trash the Young Witch with Zombie Apprentice, and then use the other Necromancer as Young Witch. Which is what I. So again, my opponent's not trashing copper. At least buys something with 6 there. I think here I'm wondering. No, I should still trigger the shuffle here. So the question is what do you play first? And yeah. Here I believe I trashed. Yeah, so I'm going to trash for gold because it's the most convenient way to get gold here. It's really like, why not? But the problem here is that I didn't want to trigger the shuffle because now I have 4 cards in my discard, and the only thing I can play Necromancer as is something that draws, so I actually don't play the Necromancer. But now I get the Druid, and I technically bought Tooth. I technically got an extra gain with the Sky's Gift to get the golds, as opposed, because otherwise I could have just bought the Sky's Gift. But yeah, I got the gold and the Druid. That was the advantage of playing, getting Sky's Gift there. So yeah, here you trash the Druid and use it when you need it. Probably here I use the Druid when I need it. You have some good things you could do with that. You could get a Necromancer. You could also get extra plus buy. But the problem here is that I was neglecting to play the Young Witch. Well, Necromancer having it play Young Witch. So I'm not actually junking my opponent as much anymore. But soon enough, the cities would get activated, and then having the city advantage is just really good. So yeah, there I did play it as Young Witch, so I guess I wasn't too forgetful there. Yeah, so I think there I just wanted to just trash the copper, get more cities. Cities let me play Necromancer as Young Witch. And then later on, towards the end, you could get you could use Grave Robber on cities. But it doesn't quite get to that point. You'll see what happens. So yeah, I was not neglecting to play a Young Witch, and now that Druid's in the trash, I can just get a lot of good mileage out of that without having the Druid bog down my opening hand, because Necromancer can be used as cantrip in the worst case. So yeah, you can. So I do have a bunch of curses, and my opponent decides to resign here. Didn't want to play it out, and that means I won all 3 games in a row. And yeah,